right, so we're in the Gemara Avodah Zarah. Okay, actually, we're really up to Tosfos, but let's just get back into it. So what the Gemara says in the case of Sor from Malachim, right? Yud Alpha and Alpha in Avodah Zarah. The Gemara. What's the Gemara's conclusion? Why is it not a problem? Why is it not a problem? Why is it not a problem? You guys remember? Well, okay, fine. But so therefore, why do they do it then?
What was the question again? The burning?
Well, we know it's not a chok because it's in nach. Yeah. So what they do it for chashivas? They do it out of respect. That's simple. They do it out of respect for the king.
On the wall?
What do you mean why is that on the wall? I didn't say this in the shir. I should have said this because The question is, what you're really asking is how is chashivas an answer? You're right. So okay, it's a good question. Why is it not a chok? Why is it not a chok? Why would that remove it from the chalos of chok to say that it's only done for chashivas?
Because that would make sense.
Why? Well, okay, you have to cheat to answer this.
You have to go with Marik.
No, forget my rate. Just do what Tosfos. What do you have to? Because Tosfos says, what kind of chok is this?
This is a chok shel avodah chok.
Chok shel avodah chok, right? So by showing this for chashivas, what's it really saying?
Not avodah chok. It's for shtos.
But it's just for shtos.
Not shtos.
Well, whatever. Right? No, it's for kavod. Right? It's for kavod. Right? I agree. He's got to say to Ellis, but I'm saying there's one step you could take.
What do you mean?
No, it's like this. In other words, there's two ways you could look at burning clothes for kings. Okay, do you look at burning clothes for kings as really part of the overall process of their ceremony, right? Even though in and of itself, as a maisa, there's nothing idolatrous about it, but it's part of their ceremony. It's like that, as Dylan likes to say, the hechsher for the ceremony. So therefore, it's part of it, right? Or do you say no? Do you say that really it's a separate maisa altogether? There's a maskana of the Gemara saying that you do it for chashivas, meaning that you isolate that simply as an expression of kavod for the king, right? Now, how they react to that, right? Their reaction is a separate phenomenon. It's not a hechsher for their ceremony. Rather, it's simply they react to it in a certain way. But the mice itself, I'm just saying, what the Gemara is going to do is it's going to have to separate, isolate chashivas, and say that that action has nothing to do with the avodah zarah ceremony. It's just stam, they have respect for the guy. You understand? In other words, they're using Sor from Lachem as its own maisa. It has nothing to do with the ceremony itself. That's how the Gemara is breaking it off. Okay, and that's why I would say it's not a chok. Alright? But that leads us now into Tosfos. Alright, so we won't read the Tosfos again. But what's Tosfos' question?
What is Tosfos?
So you have a stira, right? Because one Gemara says that Sor from Malachim. One Gemara says that there is a source for these things. Look, let's read Tosfos' question. Tosfos says, "V'chuka hi heches arfina." It says, "Tema, my kaparach." Why does the Gemara here ask if this is a chukah? Why do we burn? Dilma la'olam chukah hi. Really, it is a chok. Okay, but kevan d'chsiva b'ray. So lo gamrina minayu. But since it's written in the Torah, we don't follow it. Okay, meaning that if it's located in the Torah, if there's a source in the Torah for something to be if a behavior is source in the Torah, can it be a chukas? Can it be a Chukas Akum? If there's a source in the Torah for something, can it be Chukas Akum? No, it can't be. Okay.
Unless you look the Bible.
But what's Tosfos' main point? Let's just get to the Sfar point. What's his main point? There's two. Don't do that. There's two kinds of. It's for my kids. There's two kinds of Chukas Akum. Why is what?
Why isn't Karbanos Chukas Akum?
Good question.
That is the definition of Chukas Akum.
I mean, according to Rambam.
Yeah.
That's a good question. But anyway, so according to Tosfos, what are the two kinds of Chukas Akum? According to Tosfos.
There's in the Torah afterwards.
But what are the two kinds of Chukas Akum according to Tosfos? What are the two kinds of Chukas Akum? One is
for avodah zarah.
Well, shame was right?
And the other one is just
right. Meaning so what happens by chok l'shem avodah zarah? Let's just define that a little bit. What happens when it's chok l'shem avodah zarah? What does that mean?
It's like a law.
Well, okay. So first of all, what is it, and then what's the idea behind it? What is it? It means that it's not that this thing, again. It's not that this thing is a problem, but it's associated with avodah zarah, right? But what Tosfos is saying is that by being associated with avodah zarah, this thing acquires the chalos of avodah zarah through its association. Now that's how it acquires it, but that's why it's a different category. In other words, there's avodah zarah itself, and then there's that which can acquire chalos shem avodah zarah due to its association with the avodah zarah. That's one type of chukas akum. Okay, and what's the other kind?
No, just shtos.
Right. And what now? Again, this is the next step we took. Shtos. Right. So what is that telling you, according to Tosfos?
Shtos ain't Jewish.
Shtos ain't right. Amazingly so. Shtos means one thing. It's not from us. Okay, it's from them. I know it sounds very
Tosfos makes it
apartheid,
better, not
but
worse.
it's what do you
Tosfos
mean?
makes it better.
No, that's why it's more severe. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Chol Kashem V'Odos Chachamim is more severe because even if the Torah says it, which of course again it never would,
Right.
but if the Torah said it,
Except for
right?
the carbon.
So, right. But if the Torah said it, then it couldn't be. The Torah would never say it. But let's say it did. It wouldn't beat out Chol Kashem V'Odos Chachamim because that's already something that's the Chalosh Shem Avodah Zarah. But by Hevel and Shtus, if the Torah says it, that means not Hevel and Shtus. But why? Because it's not sourced in them; it's sourced from us. So it's just a question of what it stems
It's
from.
not that it's Havel Shus, it's just. Oh, must not.
It's not that the thing itself is Hevel and Shtus. It's that it's coming from them.
Right.
That's the problem.
But you see-
In other words, forget Toelis. All we know is one thing. Because remember, Tosfos doesn't care about that. All we know is one thing.
seems to be a third
Is it
category.
us or them? Right? Well, Toelis is a modifier
No,
in the us or
is
them.
it them or is it them for what is our?
Correct, right. No,
Is it not us?
Right, is it not us? No, there's one thing is that, we see halachically the two very good categories.
Right.
One is saying that there's nothing wrong with the Maisa, but it's through its association with something idolatrous that's a problem. Doesn't matter where it came from. It's its association with the Vazar is a
You
problem.
could have came up with it.
Right, exactly.
It's
The
the lack
second,
of positive.
right, the second one's saying that's not from us. It's from them.
Is which one?
Saif is from them.
Depends, right?
Right. Well, yeah, right. But I'm saying simply, Saif is from
But
them.
this would be Chok Avodas Chachamim.
Correct.
And therefore you need a pasuk in the Torah,
Correct.
even though it would.
That's why the Gemara
but
rejects
you already
that.
help, right?
You're right. The Gemara rejects it. That's why the Gemara rejects it. It says no, it's
How's the
chashivusa.
Chum over there learning out from Pasuk Torah? Sarfin.
Oh, so that's Tosfos' final move, which that's a separate thing.
Okay.
How you answer that? He answers that all up. But the point is, for what we need right now, and yes, I'm allowed to cherry pick. But what we need right now for this, Tosfos' point is that there's two categories of Chukas Akum. One is where it's the thing itself. The mice is not problematic, but it's through its association with Avodah Zarah the problem emerges, and therefore the thing now requires a Chalosh and Avodah Zarah. Or is it because it's just not from us? It's from them. Anything sourced from them is defined as shtus. Okay. Now, what does the Ran say though? What does the Ran say? Right. The Ran says what? The Ran on Beis Beis in Avodah Zarah says Shelo Asra Torah Elachukos Shel Oved Avodas Chachavim Elu Dvarim Shel Hevel Vatala V'Kulon Yesh Behem Sorach Avodas Chachavim Aval Dvarim Shel Tam Sharu. So he's got a whole new thing. It's called, what's it called? This is the opening for us today. Okay, if you want to go down that road, what's the Ran saying? And it's a good question. I don't know how the Ran answers up the steerers and the Gemaras, but the Ran has a very different slar for Chukas Akum. What's Chukas Akum?
Well,
Anything without it.
Anything without Tuelis. Which means as long as a thing has a benefit, as some sort of function, then it can be Chukas Akum. But if the thing is simply the Tzarach Avodas Chachavim, then it is Chukas Akum.
And use this that one category.
He's got one category.
Like Tosfos.
Unlike Tosfos. No, more than that. Tosfos and Hevel and Shtus would never tolerate, what do you call it, the Ran's position. Okay? If I want to put it in a cutesy way, I'd almost say like the Ran borrows a piece of each of Tosfos' categories. He wants the Avodah Zarah shame to be there, but it has to also fit in with Hevel and Shtus. So what makes it Hevel and Shtus? If there's no point to it. Then it must be Tzarach Avodah Zarah. You understand? I'm saying in a categorical way. That's how he's lining it up. Okay?
no, it has to be.
It's the first step in Tosfos and Ran. Okay? Then we went to what? Then we went to the Gemara in Sota, which was on Mem Tesam Beis, and then the Gemara Me'ila on Yud Zayin and Amal. But what was the main point over there? So the Gemara in Sota seemed to indicate that this is where we get to the Heter of Karl Lamachos.
Oh.
So what's Heter Karl Lamachos? You had the story where he had 500 kids who were taught Yavanis. Why was he allowed to, that's Chukas Akum. Why is he allowed to do it? He's allowed to do it because he's Karl Lamachos. What's the state of, I don't know, whatever, 500, it was an orphanage, I think. Then you have, but what's that based on? It's based on the story Me'ila, where you had this one guy, what was his name?
It's Truffles.
Is that his name? He's
Reuven Ben.
yeah, Reuven, right? Yeah, Rabbi Reuven ben Eastrobli, right? So what happened? He got a certain kind of hair. He got a Goyish haircut, right? Why?
Stop.
Well, okay, so no, not Stam, because the government had passed all these decrees against Jews to do certain things, right? So what did he do? He said, okay, well, listen, I'll sneak in there. I gotta look like them. And by sneaking in there and looking like them, what's gonna happen? I'll break them down, right? Yeah, I'll show them. So that's what he did. He had these cutesy logical arguments until finally they realized, oh wow, 3 smart arguments in a row must be he's Jewish, right? Oh, we exposed you. But why was he exactly? Why was he allowed to do that? So the Rambam says in Shaz and Shuvas in the Simon Reish Mem Daled, the Rambam says, and other Meforshim say this as well, he was only allowed to do it Kadesha Yigin Al Yisrael Etzlam. Okay, so it doesn't just mean any government job, because that means if I work for the post office, I can fit in. No, there has to be some benefit to it. Although we'll get to the case in Yarmulke. By the way, so now I don't know. So why is there a heter? Why is there a heter for Karla Malchus? Why is there a heter for Karla Malchus? This is the next step we made. So why is Karla Malchus mutter? That was the question we asked. Why is Karla Malchus mutter?
Karmalchus means when you are close.
Because if you're in a situation where you're defending the Jews, that's mutter. It's not bikoch nefesh, because bikoch nefesh is no chiddush
That's not
then.
what the Ram said, though. The Ram said anytime you're close to the king.
Well, kadesh yigin al Yisrael etzlam.
Look at the Ram. The Ram doesn't say that.
You mean in the yad?
Yeah.
That's true. So I'm trying to read the reason into it. Fine. Okay, you can even argue that Karla Malchus in general is. What the Rama means is that every time it's Karla Malchus, it means
if you should look in the line.
right. So there's going to be some sort of downside to it. Right. So why is it not a problem? That's what I want to know.
Because maybe
What's he bringing out?
It's not to emulate.
Right. Okay. So that's the most important thing to say. If I get a haircut like a guy and I'm working Karla Malchus, right? Let's just use the Ram's case in Shaz Tshuva. Says to defend Jews. So clearly it's not that my. In other words, that's the key thing to understand the Chukas Akum. It has to be part of the Isser is that my objective is to emulate. It's not the Maisa. That's what's bringing out the point. It's not the Maisa of emulation. Rather, my intent is to emulate.
Final objective.
So
My final objective, correct.
So you're allowed to.
I agree, but I can do a Maisa. The Maisa fitting in, right? The action produces fitting in may not be considered an Isser because if my objective isn't to fit in. There's the objective has to fit the Maisa. But the Maisa has no value. That's my point. It has to be emulation means I want to be like them. Okay. Then we brought up the point of now I'm building everything together to that climax, right? The next point we brought up is there's a machlokas among the Rishonim, right? About who does Chukas Akum apply to, right? Is it just limited to the Egyptians and the Canaanites, right? Does it apply to Ovdei Vodazara, or does it even include let's say non-Ovdei Vodazara, like every guy, meaning in this case would be Muslims, right? So and there's a chart. The Chinuch clearly indicates it's only for Ovdei Vodazara. But the Rashba in the Shalat Tshuva Chelak Aleph Siman Shin Mem Hey, we should actually read this. He says there was a minhag. Look what he says. Look at that source over there. It's very interesting. He says we need to do this during this year. He says the question was by a butcher, right? Who used to there was a technique of butchering that the Muslims did. Could the Jew do the same technique? So what was it? So the shaila was uminhagam shal yishmaelim lishkol leolam keneged mizrach. So whenever they shechted, okay, they'd always shecht in which direction? Towards east. Okay.
What do they mean you shed towards east?
They would, I guess, position the animal in the east towards the east. I'm not sure. It's a good question what they specifically did, but there was some sort of technique they did, which they did specifically for a Muslim reason. Right. So everything they always do, they always face east.
So we're not allowed to face east.
The Koran al Kabbalah, right? The Heimachashvin davar zeh al divrei ruach shalahem to'elas. They think there's a benefit to facing east. Ukashiyava Yisrael lishchot, right? Lo yanichu lishchot ela imkin yishchot letzad hakel Kabbalah kukasam, right? So the question was, can the Jew shecht in that way? Okay, or is that Chukas Akum? So the Rashba answers v'chein roy ligor levatel haminag. Okay, so he wanted to say that you have to get rid of that minhag. Meaning what? Meaning that even though they're not idolaters, because remember they worship a non-physical god, but nonetheless, since it's rooted in them, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, but corner is that.
Why? You remember?
So it applies to them.
Why? What was unique then?
It's very Chukas Akum.
Come on.
We were in a very bad state.
Right. It was part of the formative state of Bnei Yisrael. So in that state, where we're forming as a nation, it would be it's a very dangerous state to be it's going to be very appealing to take on the other cultures around us. We're in a very dangerous state. But once the ideology of Bnei Yisrael is kavua, from that point on, there's nothing else to worry about. But obviously, that's only one shita. Everyone else disagrees with that. They say either the problem is that we're pursuing the culture of Avodah Zarah, or is a problem, and here's the key thing. If you hold that any goy is a problem, what are you really saying? And this is the next step we took. What are you really saying? What's the problem? It's not Avodah Zarah. If I follow the Muslim minhag, right? I'm not doing something idolatrous. I'm not.
Oh, because it has to have the potential to lead to idolatry. If it's not idolatrous,
it's violating the fact that we are
Jews.
Muvdal. So that's the idea in Yirmiyahu, right? What does it say in Yirmiyahu? It says, Kishtayim Ros Asa Ami, Osi Ozvu, it's in Beis Yud Gimel. There are two evils that my people did. One is they left the Makor Mayim, right? And then the second one is they went to dig out these wells, okay? And the Gemara explains, one Isser, two subcategories, or two steps. What are the two steps? The first one is what?
Leaving Judaism.
leaving Judaism, and the second one is
Like,
engaging in avodah zarah. So the whole Isser of Chukas Akum, in my opinion, is really a violation of Va'abdil. That's the Isser. The Isser is you cannot violate Va'abdil.
That's the most extreme opinion.
Right? What?
That's the most extreme opinion.
What do you mean?
The furthest opinion.
You mean following all Goyim?
Yeah.
We pass in that way though. Yeah. Or extreme. You don't mean like crazy extreme.
No.
You mean, yeah. But I'm saying that's what that idea is. The idea is that we're negating the status of Va'abdil. That's the problem. We're destroying Va'abdil. Once we start incorporating Goyish mannerisms into what we do, we're negating Va'abdil. So I think that's the idea in Yirmiyahu. So that idea, I think, now leads us to really answer up the kashas in the Rambam. So let's get back to this. So now, So now with this move, how do we answer the Rambam in the Mor Nevuchim versus the Yad? Okay, the Rambam in the Mor Nevuchim says what? He says that let's go in order. Okay, there seems like there's three different versions of Chukas Akum, right? There's the Yad's version, there's the Mor Nevuchim version, and the Sefer Mitzvahs version. What's the Mor Nevuchim teaching us about Chukas Akum? How does it compare to? How does it say it's synonymous with Darkei Mori and Nichosh? Like Rashi says. Rashi takes Chukas Akum and says Chukas Akum is just like Nichosh, just like Darkei Mori. But yet the Rambam in the Yad doesn't say that. The Rambam in the Yad says that it's Mabush and Se'ar. So how do we answer that?
Philosophical category of things that lead to religion.
Correct. In other words, like this. I think there's two tiers that exist in Avodah Zarah. Okay, and that's why I brought in the Rambam in Perek Beis and then the Rambam in Perek Yud. In Perek Beis, he's talking about Ma'aseh Avodah Zarah, true Avodah Zarah, which is what are you doing? Worshiping something that's created, other than just a created thing, an idol, whatever, right? A force, right? That's Avodah Zarah. But there's another tier, okay? Another tier of Avodah Zarah called Chukas Akum. I'm calling that the category of Chukas Akum. And what is that? What's the problem in that area? That's what all these things have in common. Nichosh has in common with it. Darkei Mori, all these, like a guy walks out with a fox tooth, doesn't think it's for refuah. So what's the problem with that?
It leads to voter.
No, okay, that's what it leads. That's what it will lead to. But what's the inherent problem with that? What are you doing?
It's not Jewish.
Why? But why is it partake of Avodah Zarah? Why would it lead to Avodah Zarah?
You're making yourself like God.
You're identifying with him?
What? No.
Okay.
No, we'll get to that. Hold on. But just in the thing itself.
It's not yet Avodah Zarah, but it's not
If the guy says, "I'm going to wear a fox tooth," I believe in God. But I'm going to wear a fox tooth because I think it's going to protect me.
He's believing in other truth other than
You're going
the
away
Quran.
from Judaism.
I don't understand.
We know that though. No.
You're putting your faith into that one.
But what if a guy says, what's the problem in and of itself? Not what it's compared to. What's the problem if a guy says, I'm going to wear a fox tooth because it's going to protect me? Why is that a problem? What's he doing? What is he doing in that statement? He's saying what?
That's not good enough.
I'm wearing a fox tooth, and what's that going to do? Protect you. So what's lacking in there? No, that's the outgrowth of that.
It's lacking God.
It's causal fantasy. He's saying that these two,
Brendy's words.
100%. These two causes are related to each other. No, okay, so now that is another category of Avodah Zarah. That's another tier of Avodah Zarah. It's not saying that I'm denying God. I can believe in God, but the problem is that I'm applying fake causes. I'm saying that this will lead to this. Oh, but all those things have that in common. Look at Nichosh, Yudoni, all of them share that in common. No, they're part of the overall concept of Avodah Zarah, but it's a different type of Avodah Zarah. It's not an Avodah Zarah. It's rooted in. It is, because it's in Hilchos Avodah Zarah. You're asking, okay, in the realm of causal fantasy, does that mean that by definition it doesn't work together, or is it that we don't know how it works together?
You don't know how anything works.
Wait a second. No. So where's this? Now comes what you were saying. What's always the source for these causal fantasy things?
Not believing him.
Goyim. That's why it's called Chukas Akum. It comes from them. They're the source of all this stuff. That's why before, and I said, if you notice how I was trying to build this up, I said before, I said, what's Tosfos' issue? Not that the mice is Hevel, but that its source is Hevel. But why is its source Hevel? Why does Chukas Akum partake of that? Because it's saying that, because what do Goyim do? Goyim are responsible for all these nonsensical, crazy things. Okay?
So then,
Now the question. So that definition, I think, answers the Ram and the Mishnah Torah, because when the Ram and the Mishnah Torah, he starts off with Chukas Akum. What is it when he's starting off with Chukas Akum? He's actually telling you two things. In the first line, where he says "Ein Holchan Acharei Chukas Akum," that's first statement is actually both categories, both the second tier that we're talking about, which would include Nichush, Kosem, etc., as well as the specific halachic expression. Because what's the next thing he says? Velo midamin lahen. Right? Emulating them That's the specific halachic expression of Chukas Akum. But ein holchan acharei Chukas Akum, what he means there, that's the overall category of Chukas Akum, which includes Darchei Amori, Nichush, etc., etc., etc. You understand?
Picked here.
So and what?
And the second tier as well.
Okay, so but why they pick Mabush and Seyar?
Just the-
Now let's just answer the Yad versus the Sefer Mitzvos. Sefer Mitzvos says Afilu, right? So what's that telling you?
Category.
Different category, better. Come on. What's not? There's, on the one hand, Mabush and Seyar, insofar as the scheme of Nihugim are concerned, right, are definitely the weakest ones. They're the least damaging, right? It's much worse to do something, let's say, as extreme as Nichlish, but their actions could be much worse than simply Mabush and Seyar. That's light in that stream of thinking. But insofar as how you identify yourself, mipin muvdal, how you look at yourself, your appearance is essential in that identification. I mean, again, look at yarmulke. A guy wears yarmulke, you know he's Jewish, right? He could believe in He could be Mr. Nichosh. But the fact he wears yarmulke is an indicator that he's Jewish. So appearance is really the objective category that the Rambam uses in halacha. But really, insofar as the nature of the action itself is concerned, there are things way worse than what you wear and your hairstyle. Okay, is that clear? So now, why does the Rambam? Now that comes the third category in the Rambam, the buildings. Okay, what do you say about the buildings? Right? I thought it was next far. The buildings.
The
So what?
actual building.
Well, let's just do the
right.
what
Of the building.
Well, let's just deal with the Rabbit things. What did the Rabbit say? The Rabbit said, I don't know what the Rambam means. Is the Rambam saying the problem is in the tsuros, meaning in the structure, or is the Rambam saying it's a problem in gathering people together?
Right.
So what was that issue?
Is the action.
Building the actual,
The actual building itself
or
or the function of the building.
yeah,
Right, exactly. Or is it the fact that now this building is recognizable? See, he agrees with the Rambam that's in terms of appearance. But the question is, but what appearance are we talking about? On one level of appearance is, I see that building looks like a church, right? That looks like a church. Or do you say, no, it's that by having a large group of people come together, that gives the place itself a certain
Is
identity.
it emulation of the function or the appearance?
Exactly. Right? Emulation of the function or the appearance. But I think the Rambam brings this category in because he wants to introduce that there's an actual idea of Chukas Akum b'Toras Tzibur. You have an idea like that the Tzibur is engaged in Chukas Akum. Because if they go ahead and build a building, it's not the architect that's over the Yisr, it's that now it's a sort of a communal responsibility that takes place. It's like a communal Chukas Akum. Like, in other words, if they all gather together in this place, right, or they build a building, like a big public building that everyone will identify as, being Gayish, so that's a problem in the Tzibur. It's a communal responsibility of Chukas Akum, not in the individual. So I think that's what he's saying. In other words, you can have appearance insofar as the individual, and you can have like a community type of appearance. That's, I think, one of the Rambam brings in that category. Okay?